The miracle never happened. The bad ending. Oof.
Take that!
Not the passport.
Take that!
Didn't like that answer. Well, let me just step into my time machine to before I handed that to you.
Take that!
A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed. Yes! But the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, but why though? Why would that be out of the question? It's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. If he was in the middle of dying, he can do whatever he wants. Sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. Are they too curled up? I maintain that you can take whatever position. If you just got shot directly in the heart and you want to curl up in a ball in your last milliseconds of life, you do that. He could easily have adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Protection.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that is flawed. He's clearly bracing for an aircraft crash. According to this autopsy report, which every autopsy report so far has been a lie, let's not forget, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no... Okay. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. You could be dropped like a sack of potatoes. Sacks of potatoes have their legs drawn in sometimes. Haven't you ever seen a potato that has its legs drawn in and it has a face that looks like Jesus? It can happen. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting... The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor from the inside of a large travel trunk. No. Ah, yes, the old potato sack leg day. All the happy children gather around the sack of potatoes to draw legs on it. I think I could. If I can, then he, a professional, also could. You're quite right. The shape of the body, it looks exactly as if it had been kept in a confined space, or if he had been shot. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Arrgh. Present my trunk. Daga Kotowaru. What? On what grounds? Diplomatic immunity. I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations. In other words, Judge Jigoku, there is blood in your trunk. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to... At this moment, you're not a government minister. That's not up to you. You are a witness in a trial in Britain's highest court, por que no los dos, as they say in Dunkirk, France, where we just were. I don't care who you are, or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Or I'll point at you. I'll do it. Nothing is more important than the truth. Order in the court. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? You can't be serious. You did it, surely? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asugi? What? Very well. I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You? Dear God. Outrageous. Wait, that's not his voice. Dear God. Outrageous. So it was you. You admit to Inspector Gregson's... No, I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to be? No, wait. Odd Garrett told me. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. Okay, so Barak von Zeeks, not guilty. Court over. Court over. Bang your unicorn. Court over. So I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. Why are we surprised? I guess we're surprised that he was admitting it. I suppose. You can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. Oh! That's right, who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asugi. You. I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth. Prosecutor, quote unquote, end quote, begin quote, Prosecutor Kazuma Asugi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Does Kazuma even have a gun? Everyone has guns. It's America. Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't. So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asugi. Is there actually the miracle didn't happen? The miracle never happened? If I go, yeah, because Kazuma did it. I can let my client go. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well, the defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asugi is... possible? Bad ending? Worst ending? Betrayal of my best friend ending? Well, it is possible, my lord. What? How could you? Do you think I want to believe it? But the fact is, I can't say with complete certainty what actually happened because I wasn't there. You disappoint me, Ryunosuke. If I may pick the correct answer for you, Mr. Naruhodo, you big baka, I think perhaps that's why we form opinions based on evidence. Ah, so true. And they all turn to sand. Actually, we have evidence that can settle this argument conclusively. My lord, the defense would like to present evidence in support... Before you plow on, feigning ignorance of what just happened, of what just occurred, counsel. You must be penalized for that short but embarrassing you uttered a moment ago. Oog, I really thought I could just brush past it if I was quick enough. Never mind the penalty, Mr. Naruhodo, the truth is all that matters. Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claimed that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asugi to commit the crime. What? The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asugi's involvement? This gun has no fingerprints on it. And Asugi has fingers. Case closed. Case closed, lock him up. The impossibility. Is it gonna be the sword? It better not be anything. It better not be like, oh, because he promised his father promised that his son would never kill anyone. I don't know. Is it going to be he was shot from close range, so anybody who did shoot him would have scorch marks on their hands and or gloves. Look at his hands and or gloves. There's no scorch marks. That might be it. There's like nothing else here. There's nothing. We've picked this court record clean. Alright, I guess we're gonna search him for scorch. Wait, where's the autopsy? This one?
Take that!
You're making the evidence weep here, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Sorry? Every piece of evidence has a role to play in arriving at the truth. They're not playthings you can toss around the courtroom for entertainment. It was fun to toss it around. Don't deny it. That you can't deny. Never mind the evidence. You're about to make me weep, Mr. Naruhodo. No. Can't upset Susato-san or I'll end up being upset too. That's how emotions work. We know a member of the crew was on sentry duty outside the first-class cabins nearly all the time, so as long as the guard was there, it would have been impossible to fire a shot without it being heard. And that very much narrows down when the crime could have been committed. Okay, so I guess his little hint there means that it has to be this memo. I'm not sure I understand why, but here it is. This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof. An itinerary. How does that prove anything? Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. I did forget that. I forgot that he said he showed up in his cabin after dinner and there was a dead and he was already dead. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by someone who was aboard the vessel at the time. But Prosecutor Asugi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asugi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. We're tossing around wine glasses and wine bottles. Why not toss around evidence? No, absolutely not. I don't accept that at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come back and finish... No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night at a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify. Also, look at my gloves, no scorch marks. That's even more evidence. Really, like 99% of the evidence is my gloves, which I'm pointing at you right now. 1% is the signatures. No! There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. Oh no, he's gonna break the bench! He's gonna break the witness stand and get found in contempt of court again, and then the Reaper's gonna kill him again. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Also, I'm wearing gloves. You can't prove I have fingers. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. 720 point it! That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jigoku? It was that damned trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. Ah! Anti-gravity? Why did the broken remnants fly up to the ceiling? Have we all been on the ceiling of the courtroom the whole time, and the floor is up? That was strange. A British assassination to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassination to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassination exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that you decided to recruit Mr. Asobi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. You found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement, because I was already on my way to Britain at the time, in Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume. That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain, so I enlisted the help of my British counterpart, and made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah. So, that means that the assassin exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper. I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, moving on. The inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship, but it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death. How awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. There was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time, waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move. So, the inspector... this is turning out to be, like, so dumb. It seems like he must be making this up. He's like, yep, I was in my cabin. There was a guard out front. Gregson came in, went to kill me. We tussled. I choked him into unconsciousness. The guard did not hear that. The guard also did not notice that Gregson never left my room. I waited until he left and was then going to choke him out to actual death. I couldn't kill an unconscious man by strangulation without alerting the guard. He didn't hear your jujutsu throw or choking the consciousness out of the man. But then he was like, alright, now that he is completely motionless, lifeless, not anything, I cannot... Can you imagine, like, the guard is like, oh, no. What's that? It sounds like an unconscious man being silently killed. It sounded like a pillow being delicately placed over someone's face and mouth. I'd received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I'd never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that, which is why I keep it loaded with the safety off in my belt at all times for the past 16 years. That's exactly what it was. He fell unconscious on top of his drum kit. It's like, if I touch him at all in order to strangle him, it'll make so much noise. So, the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse, which begs the question, not the correct use, I'll allow it, of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street. The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then, on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk to smuggle it past the border police. Ah, yes, I placed him in the refrigeration unit for the entirety of the trip, which I knew no crew members would go into the like, how is that a better place to hide it? I don't... And then, on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. Then why not dispose of it, like, out in the... Do they not have wilderness in Britain? Do they not have woods in which you could dump the body and it wouldn't be found for weeks? In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. Ah! I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage? Hackneyed in what sense? What is that? Also called a hackney coach, a carriage or coach for hire. A trotting horse used for drawing a light carriage or the like. I see. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel, then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot. What sort of disguise? Oh, just a red wig. For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. It looked... it looked incredibly inconspicuous with my bushy black beard and mustache. The hairpiece we found at the scene, the inspector had it ready for the Redhead League investigation. Even modern that was in the back of my head, like, wait, do you guys still have names for horse-drawn carriage taxis? Or is it used for real taxi cabs? I guess it's used for modern taxi licenses are called hackney carriage licenses. Yeah, the only context I have for the word hackney is saying that something is hackneyed. As in, like, contrived? Stereotypical? Not stereotypical, but, you know. I only arrived at the room at around 4:45, or 5:30, as we call it. So I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later. So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine nobody asked you. I imagined it was a bag of fish and chips. I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but, well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. Now I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a moment that the window taxis are more expensive. I get that that's a goof. I get your British humor. That's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. Trying to get one over on me. The entire witness stand is gone. All of it is on the ceiling of the cathedral. Lifted by anti-gravity. I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Shouldn't he... I think he should consult a lawyer before answering that question. He shouldn't be listening to you. Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though, as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. After all, you did break the witness stand. That's like 90% of a perjury. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Welcome back, Serp. Don't they go in the other one? That's the one for guilty, but aren't we, don't you have to fireball for my guy? Okay. Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found. But you just said it's not his trial yet. So what does your opinion matter? And may I remind those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Can I get a hold it? Because the game can't end there. Obviously, frickin' he's behind it. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt. Oh, wonderful! Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Do I look happy to you? Thank you. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by his silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we've reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor. As you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant Barak von Zieks. There we go. The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position. What? But Judge Jigoku has already confessed. Nevertheless, Barak von Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asugi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku, but it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot, into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassination exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barak von Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? Objection. Where did that witness stand come from? The ceiling? Order, order. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case? Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper. Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. Wait, why are you sweating when I say that, Lord Strongheart? Is there any reason that you should suddenly be nervous? That is the prosecution's intention here. Just a 19th century drone flies in and drops the new witness stand there. I must say, I'm surprised by how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. He'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. If there's drones, yeah, Sholmes has got drones. I guess they did have a break for the confession to be signed. That's enough time to get the witness stand parts off the ceiling and super glue them back together. Very well, whilst it's extremely irregular. I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. the defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing. No doves, for emphasis. 6 Hadoukens for emphasis. Pray, turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice. Lord Van Zieks! I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And I did, at the beginning of the stream, Serp, I explained that a lunatic broke into my apartment last stream and announced that Saturday is when I would be ending the game, and that it was obviously not going to happen. I'm not even really sure that we'll finish it Monday. Because we still have not even, aside from like wink wink nudge nudges, we haven't even begun to say like, oh, Lord Strongheart's behind it all. And yeah, the regular judge is not here just because it's a closed court. That's the only reason. And ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So, I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the witness to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense? Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically. You're right that he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this, and I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise, as a lawyer and as a swordsman. Wait, where's my sword? He took it. I brought a finger to a sword fight. It's not ideal. Then that's what we must do. I brought a fist as well. The defense has no objection, my lord. I always bang my fist on the table when I have no objection. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. As you wish, my lord. We got the official guilty for Jigoku killing him, but the reason we didn't get the official not guilty is that Kazuma is saying he's the Reaper. He ordered this whole thing to happen. He's the one who ordered Jigoku to go kill him. So really, he's the murderer. I have never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That is the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson, except for this picture of the three of us. No, I don't have a picture of Dr. Wilson. Therefore, clearly, there is no reason to suspect me of being behind the Assassin Exchange. And now to cross-examine my own witness and point out that he is lying. So you deny all accusations by the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey and that you masterminded the Assassin Exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in a position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Rinosuke Naruhodo? Yeah? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? I assume I'm getting paid for this. That's maybe a dumb thing for me to have concluded without evidence. A desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty? From all my experiences in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. Nobody pays me. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. No. Kazuma right now is shaming us into doing the cross-examination for him. By saying, like, don't you want the truth? Like, shouldn't you be the one proving that your client is lying? And we're like, yes. So it's always my intention to work with my client in pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense proceed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction, you're convinced, lies somewhere within this man's testimony.
Hold it!
So you're not what the general public refer to as the infamous Reaper of the Bailey. Exactly. Don't imagine for a moment that the court will be satisfied with a one-word answer on this. I realize that. If you're intending to comment on every sentence, this could take a while, Kazuma. We could be at this game for 90 hours. Didn't you find it disturbing, though, that one by one, defendants who'd been acquitted after your unsuccessful prosecution were killed? Let me answer that question by posing another. If one by one defendants who'd been acquitted after your successful defense were killed, would you find that disturbing? Disturbing? I couldn't possibly say how that would make me feel with a one-word answer like that. Exactly. Well, that told me... Dyson Sphere? No, I don't think I have. Is there a game called Dyson Sphere? For some reason, when you said that, I thought you meant Kerbal Space Program, which I've also never played. Factory game? I don't know if I mean, I could try one. Maybe. But even though I'm not the Reaper, it doesn't mean that I ignored all the objection hearsay.
Hold it!
Dyson Sphere Project. Okay. You say for years. How many years? Can you count them? Okay, but can you freaking count them? Okay, there we go. He paused. Alright. Since the very first time the Reaper's influence was felt in this courtroom 10 years ago. And your investigations led you somehow to Inspector Gregson, you're saying? I didn't want to believe it. He was a personal acquaintance. We'd worked on cases together in the past. A friend, even. It felt like a betrayal, but I demanded permission to search his office at the Yard without his knowledge. Which is when you found his secret notebook, is it?
It's when I first learned of the location. He'd noted only as grouse, and the appointment at 5 p.m. on the 31st. Though I didn't know the significance of those details at the time.
So now we're at the nub of the matter. The very nib.
As it turns out, the significance for me personally was very unfortunate.
Hold it! There's no street. But why did you go to that specific location?
I thought that if it was the Reaper's headquarters, then by turning up there at 5 o'clock I would catch whoever was involved, red-handed. Sadly, all that was awaiting me was the inspector's corpse.
Yes. Even though it wasn't designed for you, you walked straight into the trap set by Jigoku.
Exactly. Jigoku had intended to implicate Hugh Boone, but unhappily for me, I arrived at the scene first.
A ridiculously careless blunder. Moved on to just throwing insults around, I see. What is lined up? I was thinking of playing, I've got an RPG called I Am Setsuna that I started and played like 2 or 3 hours of. That was a while ago. I'd be starting from scratch because I don't remember it at all. But I worry that it might be too, like, normal. Like, I don't... Like, when I played through Radiant Historia, that wound up being funny because of how much fun I could poke at it. Especially towards the end. I don't know if anyone remembers or was here for... For anyone wondering, my favorite stream, if you were to go on the YouTube channel, my favorite video is Radiant Historia Part 57. You can fast forward through the first third of it where I was just getting the normal ending. The whole thing where Ott is trying to exorcise the ghost of the woman who's mad because her boyfriend threw out a brooch that he gave her for her anniversary is the funniest thing that's ever happened on the stream. The whole second half of that video is the absolute best. I would love to be able to reclaim that moment with another, like, RPG that kind of takes itself seriously but has tons of, like, plot holes and things to poke fun of, but I don't know if I Am Setsuna is that. That's the problem with it, is that nobody's ever going to stumble upon that. Like, I really might at some point just take that out and make it its own video and have, like, red arrow on the thumbnail pointing to things so that it'll get recommended to people and they'll click on it, because it was the best half hour of stream ever. So I'm not sure though that I'm going to, like, I might just go to I Am Setsuna. I might... Oh no, there was also Tunic. I was thinking of picking up Tunic and playing that. Oh, it's pretty somber. That can still be fun to laugh at. Sometimes, maybe, I don't know. I also might just take a break from streaming. I don't know. I'm fickle. But you've played it? Or you've seen it at least? Seen some of it? This will be the thing that we disprove, I guess, even though I don't know how. There is a link between you and Gregson, though.
Of course, we were close acquaintances. We worked together we worked on numerous cases together. I considered the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons.
He did? Such as what?
Where to buy good fish and chips and such like.
Wow, that was convincing.
Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course, but that was some time in the past, and in any case, I understand it was several years ago now that he was invited to work at a Japanese university.
That's right, he was a visiting professor at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo. Played through some of it.
It should be unambiguously clear then that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I had no motive for sending him some assassination across the oceans to kill the man.
Sounds plausible enough. I want to believe it. Something about this just doesn't quite sit right with me. Yeah, the only evidence that we have whatsoever about Dr. Wilson is his brother's autopsy. So there you go. Yes, there we go.
Objection!
What is this? An autopsy report? Wait, this is 10 years old, from the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zieks.
What? My brother's autopsy report?
I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth. Order in the court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel? The autopsy report of the professor's final victim is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant.
Not that accursed name again. The professor.
I've personally researched all the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victims' souls. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zieks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure. And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asugi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind.
But it draw 11037 on the wall? And that was only discovered during the autopsy? Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zieks here to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true.
What?
Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death?
That's outrageous!
And now, 10 years later, for some reason the secret has been threatened and needs protecting, which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassin exchange. Rabble, 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 rabble. Order at once. 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death. Oh, we are past 9 o'clock. This is probably a fine place to stop. We shall save here. We shall resume on Monday. We might be getting close to the end. It is possible that we'll finish this on Monday. We seem to be deep enough into the trial that I can see the path to the end from here. And we are probably not going to be interrupted by another investigation phase. It's just going to be all trial. So I think I think it's safe to say we might finish Monday. So thank you guys for being here, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you can make it to the... Alright, cool. I hope you can make it to the finale on Monday. And yeah, again, I guess I'll be thinking of what to do next on stream. Might be Setsuna, might be something else. I'll figure it out. Have a good night, everyone.